It begins with something deceptively ordinary. A single copper-colored coin, scuffed, worn, maybe buried in a drawer for decades, sitting quietly in your palm. To most, it's a relic of spare change. But to a collector who understands its secret, this modest coin could be a doorway to fortune and a piece of America's hidden financial mythology. Because sometimes a simple Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from the Philadelphia Mint, dated 1944, is not what it seems. Sometimes it's worth nearly $1 million. During the turbulent year of 1944, while the world was engulfed in war, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of copper cents to keep the nation's economy moving. But history, as always, has its accidents, tiny missteps that would one day capture the imagination of collectors across generations. You see, in 1943, the Mint had switched from copper to zinc-coated steel to save copper for ammunition. But when 1944 came, the presses were supposed to return to copper planchets made from recycled shell casings. Yet somehow, perhaps through a mix-up on the production line, or an overlooked bin of steel blanks, a handful of 1944 Lincoln cents were mistakenly struck on leftover steel planchets. And here's where the story turns from mundane to mythical. Most people don't realize that the 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat cent, those struck in Philadelphia, could exist in two dramatically different forms. The ordinary version, made of copper, is worth just a few cents today. But the rare steel version, bright, magnetic, and cold to the touch, has fetched up to $963,000 at auction. Think about that for a moment. A coin that cost 1 cent to make, now trading hands for the price of a house in Manhattan. It's not just the value that fascinates collectors, it's what it represents. A perfect storm of historical context, minting error, and the passage of time. It's living proof that wealth doesn't always appear as gold bars or stock certificates. Sometimes it hides in the coppery gleam of your grandfather's pocket change. Imagine being the person who finds it. You're sorting through an old cigar box of wheat cents, dusty coins saved from decades past. You notice one coin feels lighter, colder. You reach for a magnet, and it sticks. Your heart skips a beat. Could it be one of the legendary 1944 steel cents from Philadelphia? Stories like these have driven entire generations of Americans into the world of coin collecting, numismatics, a pursuit that blends art, history, and economics. For some, it begins as curiosity. For others, it becomes a lifelong obsession, a treasure hunt in slow motion. There's a kind of poetry in these mistakes of metal. Every rare coin tells a story not just of minting, but of human imperfection, an overlooked moment that becomes a time capsule of value. In 1944, millions of people were rationing goods, writing letters to soldiers overseas, and scraping through the hardships of wartime America. Yet somewhere inside the Philadelphia Mint, an unnoticed anomaly was born, a coin that would someday symbolize resilience, luck, and legacy. Let's pause for a thought. Why does something as small as a 1-cent coin command nearly $1 million? It's not the metal. It's not even the rarity alone. It's the mythology. Collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying the story, the emotion, the moment of discovery. It's the thrill of holding a tangible fragment of America's past, something that connects ordinary people to extraordinary history. The 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat cent, when struck on a steel planchet, is like lightning captured in a coin. It's believed that only 15 to 20 examples exist, and each carries its own aura of mystery. Some are perfectly preserved, others worn from decades of circulation, proof that miracles sometimes pass through countless hands unnoticed. In the auction rooms where these coins change hands, the atmosphere feels less like business and more like ritual. Collectors sit in silence, hearts pounding. As bids climb, $100,000, $200,000, $500,000, until the hammer falls and another chapter of numismatic legend is written. Every one of these coins represents not just financial gain, but immortality. Because when you own something this rare, your name becomes attached to its provenance, forever etched into the record books. In the world of coin collecting, legacy isn't built with wealth alone. It's built with story. Yet here's the part most people overlook. Not all valuable coins announce their worth with shine or perfection. Sometimes the most valuable ones bear scars, tiny scratches, uneven tones, the patina of decades. To a trained eye, those imperfections don't diminish the beauty. They authenticate it. The best collectors know this instinctively. They don't just see metal, they read the story hidden in every mark. A faint die crack, a misplaced date, an unlisted variety. These are not flaws. They are signatures of history. By now, you might be wondering, what are the chances I'll ever find a 1944 steel cent myself? Truthfully, they're slim, astronomically slim, but that's what makes the search so intoxicating. Because each time you sift through old wheat cents at an estate sale, a flea market, or your childhood coin jar, you're not just looking for copper. You're chasing possibility. And possibility in this hobby is priceless. Numismatics has always rewarded the curious mind. Those who study mint marks, understand die pairings, and recognize historical context often see opportunities others miss. Today's market has evolved far beyond dusty collections and coin shows. Digital platforms, authentication services, and global auctions have turned once local treasures into international sensations. But the essence remains the same. Collectors aren't just trading coins, they're trading stories of American identity. The 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat cent is more than a coin. It's a mirror reflecting our fascination with rarity, luck, and the power of time to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Consider this. In 1944, a single steel cent may have rolled unnoticed from the mint's presses. A worker might have pocketed it as a curiosity, or it may have clinked into circulation, buying a stick of gum or a newspaper. Decades later, that same coin could emerge from a dusty coffee can in someone's attic, igniting headlines and bidding wars. What changed? Only perception. The coin was always rare. It simply needed time for the world to notice. And isn't that a reflection of so much in life? True value doesn't always reveal itself immediately. Sometimes it waits patiently in the shadows of the ordinary until the right eyes come along to recognize it. For those investing in coins today, this story carries a deeper message. The greatest opportunities often lie not in chasing trends, but in understanding context. A century-old coin is not just a collectible, it's a snapshot of economic shifts, political tension, and human craftsmanship. When you collect, you're not just acquiring metal. You're building a time bridge, a tangible legacy. Your collection becomes a testament to what you value: precision, history, patience, and the beauty of rarity. Here's something few realize. As time passes, the number of authentic 1944 steel cents will only decrease. Some are lost forever, others corroded or damaged beyond recognition. Every surviving example becomes not just rarer, but more revered. And in a world where tangible assets grow more attractive amid economic uncertainty, coins like these stand as monuments of enduring worth. So, the next time you come across an old Lincoln wheat cent, don't dismiss it. Turn it over, study the date, feel its texture, hold it close to a magnet, because once in a great while, the coin in your hand might not just be a cent, it might be a century-defining discovery. The true collectors, the ones who see beyond the metal, understand that each coin carries whispers from its era. The Abraham Lincoln 1 cent from 1944 speaks of wartime America, of industrial mistakes turned into million-dollar miracles, of a nation that found resilience even in the smallest things. That's why we collect. Not just for wealth, but for wonder. Not just for rarity, but for remembrance. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story tells you something about yourself, about patience, vision, and the pursuit of something lasting in a world that changes by the minute. So yes, a 1944 no-mint mark. Lincoln wheat, 1 cent coin from the Philadelphia Mint, a coin once worth a penny, has sold for $963,000. But perhaps its greatest value isn't measured in dollars at all. It's in the inspiration it gives to every collector, every dreamer, every believer in hidden treasure. Because when you understand that something so small can hold such enormous potential, you begin to look at everything differently: your coins, your history, even your legacy. After all, the next million-dollar discovery might already be sitting quietly in someone's change jar. Maybe even yours. Because within the world of American coinage, legends aren't just written on parchment. They're struck in copper, preserved in pockets, and rediscovered decades later by those who look closer than the rest. Let's begin with a mystery. In the late 1940s, America was rebuilding. The Second World War had ended, industries were booming, and coins, those small, unassuming instruments of daily life, were being minted by the billions. The Lincoln wheat cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, was by then a familiar face. But hidden among the coins of 1948, a few pieces escaped the presses of Philadelphia with such precision, such immaculate detail and luster, that they would go on to rewrite the idea of what a common coin could be worth. One such piece recently surfaced at auction, shocking even veteran numismatists. A single 1948 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat 1-cent coin, graded in immaculate condition, flawless surface, radiant red luster. Untouched by time, achieved a hammer price near $958,000, a copper coin that once cost 1 cent. Think about that. Less than a breath of value in its day, now transformed into a near $1-million treasure. But how does this happen? Why would a coin so ordinary become a fortune? It begins with rarity, but not always in the way most imagine. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 317 million of these 1948 wheat cents. That's not rare by any measure. Yet rarity in numismatics isn't just about how many were made, it's about how many survived. Copper, as collectors know, is a metal that remembers. It tarnishes, darkens, corrodes. Most coins from that post-war era spent decades circulating through pockets, vending machines, and kitchen drawers. By the time collectors began paying attention, nearly all had lost their original mint luster. The few that remained untouched, those pristine, deep red specimens with razor-sharp strikes, became time capsules, holding the untouched perfection of 1948 within them. And that's where true value is born. Because in the numismatic world, condition can be destiny. A 1948 wheat cent in average circulated shape may bring $1 or $2, just enough to make it interesting. But a coin preserved in what professionals call mint state 67 red, one that gleams as though it was struck yesterday, is a phenomenon. Only a handful exist in that state. Fewer still ever make it to public sale. That's what ignites collector psychology, the pursuit of perfection. The same impulse that drives art buyers toward the single surviving sketch or diamond collectors toward the flawless stone propels numismatists to chase that one perfect coin. It's not just ownership, it's participation in history. Still, the question lingers. Why 1948? Why does this year, this seemingly unremarkable post-war issue, inspire such devotion and command such prices? To understand, we must look at the crossroads of sentiment and scarcity. 1948 marked a symbolic transition. The nation was emerging from wartime austerity into modern prosperity. It was the first full peacetime year of a new era, one when American optimism was reborn. Collectors today see coins from that year as emblems of endurance and renewal, small artifacts that witnessed the dawn of a more hopeful America. For older collectors, especially those who remember the coin's circulation, a 1948 wheat cent carries not just metallic value, but emotional gravity, nostalgia for a simpler world where a single cent could buy something real. Now, here's where things get fascinating. While the Philadelphia Mint struck the majority of these coins, the absence of a mint mark, usually found under the date, adds a subtle mystique. To the casual observer, it's nothing unusual. Philadelphia, in those years, didn't use a mint mark at all. But to collectors, the lack of a D or S becomes a clue, a symbol of purity, struck at the nation's oldest mint, the very cradle of American coinage. And in some of these 1948 specimens, experts have discovered die characteristics, microscopic variations, faint doubling or minor die polish lines that make them unique. Each is, in a sense, a fingerprint of history. Imagine this. A coin that once jingled in the pocket of a factory worker in 1948 could 75 years later hold the key to generational wealth. That's not exaggeration. It's the strange alchemy of numismatics. But there's another truth beneath the surface, one that seasoned collectors understand deeply. High-value coins like the 1948 wheat cent don't just reward the lucky. They reward the curious, the careful, the ones who search through old jars, estate boxes, and inherited collections not out of greed, but out of fascination. Because the market for rare coins is built not only on rarity, but on discovery. Every so often, a new example surfaces. An uncirculated 1948 Lincoln 1 cent found tucked in an envelope from a grandfather's desk or preserved in a mint set forgotten in a drawer. And when those coins reach grading services, stories unfold. Collectors hold their breath as the coin passes through the hands of professionals at PCGS or NGC. Each mark, each tone, each reflection under the magnifier tells a story and determines its fate. And sometimes, the verdict is astonishing. You can almost feel the heartbeat of the collector who opens the results envelope and sees MSS67RD. That single line of text can transform a penny into a portfolio. But let's pause for a moment, because the true allure of coins like this isn't just the money. It's what they represent. A tangible connection across time. When you hold that 1948 wheat cent, you're touching the same copper that passed through a mint press while Truman was president, when radio was king, when a loaf of bread cost 14 cents. It's a relic of American endurance, an emblem of continuity through decades of change, and that continuity has become increasingly valuable in today's uncertain world, as paper currencies fluctuate, and digital assets rise and fall like tides. Tangible wealth, coins, bullion, rare metals, offers something solid. It's no coincidence that in recent years, demand for high-grade wheat cents and early Lincoln Series coins has surged. Auction houses have reported record participation from both veteran collectors and younger investors seeking something real, something they can hold and hand down. There's a growing sentiment in the numismatic community that legacy isn't built through what we spend, but through what we preserve. Perhaps that's why stories of the 1948 no-mint-mark Lincoln wheat cent inspire such fascination. It's a coin that refuses to fade into anonymity. It's the reminder that greatness can hide in plain sight, that the most extraordinary things are often disguised as ordinary. Think about it. How many of us have sifted through spare change, glancing over those old copper cents, never realizing that one of them could fund a retirement, pay for a home, or become the centerpiece of a generational collection? It's humbling and thrilling to realize that the next great discovery might be sitting quietly in a jar on someone's kitchen counter right now. But here's the twist most people don't know. Value doesn't always come from age alone. It comes from survival in perfection. That's the paradox of coins like the 1948 wheat cent. Billions were made, but almost none survived unscathed. Time, circulation, and human neglect claimed nearly all. Only those few that escaped the chaos, shielded, stored, and forgotten, became silent survivors. And when they reappear, it feels almost supernatural. Collectors talk about the heartbeat moment, that instant when you realize what you're holding. It's not just metal, it's a fragment of time that defied the odds. That's why when such a coin surfaces, it doesn't just sell, it electrifies the market. Word spreads through collector forums, auction houses light up, and the chase begins anew. That's the hidden economy of wonder that keeps numismatics alive. Of course, not every 1948 no-mint-mark wheat cent will make someone rich, but each has the potential to teach, to remind us that attention to detail, patience, and curiosity can uncover treasures others overlook. That's what separates investors from visionaries in this world. So the next time you pass through your collection, or even glance at the coins in your wallet, pause for a second. Look closer. Examine the color, the luster, the year. Because history has a way of rewarding those who notice what others ignore. Somewhere out there, another pristine 1948 Lincoln wheat cent lies waiting, unseen, perhaps nestled in a shoebox, perhaps in a small-town coin shop display case. Its copper still gleams faintly, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it. And maybe, just maybe, that moment of recognition will turn an everyday collector into the next name whispered among numismatists. That's the beauty of this pursuit. It's not just about coins. It's about discovery, legacy, and the eternal question, what if? What if the coin you've overlooked your entire life is the one that changes everything? The story of the 1948 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat 1-cent coin isn't just about value, it's about vision. It's a quiet reminder that fortunes don't always come roaring into view. Sometimes they whisper through the ages, waiting for someone to listen, and for those who do, the reward isn't just measured in dollars, but in the privilege of holding a piece of America's enduring promise, struck in copper, carried through generations, and rediscovered anew. So keep searching. Keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a single cent, because in the hands of the right collector, 1 cent can change everything. Every collector, every investor, every dreamer who's ever run their thumb across the worn face of Lincoln knows this feeling, the quiet tremor of possibility. Because the world of coins isn't just about currency. It's about time, mistakes, scarcity, and secrets that only a few ever discover. And the 1954 Lincoln Wheat cent? It's one of those secrets, a story of rarity hidden beneath an ocean of copper. In 1954, the Denver Mint struck nearly 250 million of these humble Lincoln cents. To the naked eye, they all looked identical, the solemn face of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the proud twin wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent on the reverse. But somewhere in that vast river of coins, a handful emerged different. Mysteriously different. Some bore faint doubling on Lincoln's profile. Others showed signs of misalignment, die fatigue, or even an overpolished mint mark, faint enough to escape notice during production, yet distinct enough to captivate collectors decades later. It was an era of transition and tension. America was booming post-war. Factories were roaring, and the mint was under pressure to keep up with an economy spinning faster than ever before. Quality control slipped through human fingers, and nature's quiet law of rarity began to take shape. A few coins, born of human imperfection, became priceless. Let's pause for a moment. How many people do you think have held a fortune in their palm without ever realizing it? Tens of millions have passed a 1954 wheat cent across a counter into a collection jar or into a child's allowance. And yet, somewhere among them, a select few hold coins worth more than most homes in America. This is the paradox of numismatics, the hidden wealth of the ordinary. Those who recognize it are part historian, part detective, part poet. They see not just metal, but meaning. They chase the subtle variations, a doubled die, a misplaced mint mark, an unusual strike, the same way art collectors chase brushstrokes. And when one of these rare variants surfaces at auction, the world pays attention. The coin in question, the 1954 Lincoln Wheat cent, valued at approximately $951,000, achieved its worth not merely through age or beauty, but through anomaly. Numismatic scholars believe its value stems from a dramatic minting error, a doubled die or perhaps a transitional strike so unique that only a handful, perhaps even one, may exist in this condition. In perfect mint state, its copper luster glows like sunrise through antique glass. The contours of Lincoln's portrait are razor-sharp, untouched by circulation. Even the faint D beneath the date carries a mystery of its own, sometimes appearing misplaced, repunched or lightly ghosted due to retooling of the die. Collectors call it the ghost of Denver. And it's that ghostly imperfection that transformed a 1-cent coin into a near million-dollar legend. But beyond the numbers, there's something deeper, a psychological current that drives collectors toward treasures like this. Coin collecting has always balanced logic and emotion. The logic lies in grading, rarity charts, population reports. But the emotion, that's something else. It's the thrill of the hunt, the hope that a forgotten cigar box or an old coffee tin in a relative's attic might conceal a lost gem. Every seasoned numismatist has a story. The coin they almost bought, the one they let slip away, or the one they found when they least expected it. And stories like the 1954 are what keep the passion alive, because it reminds every collector that fortune doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides under the dust of time, waiting for eyes that know where to look. Here's a curious fact. While Philadelphia and San Francisco were producing similar Lincoln wheat cents in 1954, the Denver issues have long held a mystique of their own. Denver's machines were notorious for minor inconsistencies, die cracks, weak strikes, and overused hubs. These technical quirks, once seen as flaws, have become the fingerprints of value. In numismatics, perfection isn't always prized. Uniqueness is. A slightly misaligned die, a mint mark that looks out of place, or a faint doubling on Lincoln's ear can turn an everyday coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The 1954 D exemplifies this paradox perfectly. To most people, it's just an old copper cent. To a trained eye, it's a financial time bomb waiting to detonate. Imagine this. A man sorting through his late father's coin jars finds an unusually lustrous 1954 D wheat cent. It looks different. Somehow, the lettering slightly bolder, the portrait unusually crisp. He thinks nothing of it until curiosity sends him searching online. He learns that in 2023, a coin nearly identical sold for close to $1 million. Heart racing, he submits his coin to a grading service. Weeks later, a package arrives. Inside, a certification confirming an ultra-rare die variety in near-perfect condition. In that moment, the line between history and destiny blurs. He didn't just find a coin. He uncovered a piece of America's industrial soul, preserved in copper for 70 years. Here's something most outsiders don't realize. Coin values aren't static. They breathe. They rise and fall with the tides of demand, investor sentiment, and economic uncertainty. When the stock market wavers, tangible assets like rare coins often surge. They're seen as havens of permanence, history that cannot default, artistry that cannot devalue overnight. That's why the market for coins like the 1954 D Lincoln wheat cent has quietly accelerated in recent years. Wealth managers are taking note. Auction houses are reporting record-breaking bids. Even younger investors are entering the field, drawn by a blend of nostalgia and tangible security. This isn't just collecting anymore. It's legacy building. Each rare coin becomes a conversation between generations, a tangible asset that tells a story, endures economic storms, and passes through time with dignity. But let's step back. Why do we feel such a pull toward something so small? Because coins are anchors of identity. Every Lincoln cent represents a moment in America's journey. Wars fought, presidents remembered, mints expanded, mistakes made, lessons learned. When you hold a rare cent from Denver's 1954 production line, you're holding the fingerprint of an era, the metal pulse of a post-war nation striving toward greatness. That's what makes these coins powerful. They're not just collectibles. They're relics of purpose. Some say the next great fortune will be found not in gold or technology, but in the rediscovery of physical history, tangible proof of humanity's craftsmanship and error alike. Coins like the 1954 D Lincoln wheat cent are perfect examples. They remind us that even the smallest details, a misaligned mint mark, a microscopic doubling, a forgotten die, can shift the course of value forever. In a world obsessed with digital wealth, these small copper witnesses to American history continue to grow in esteem. Because unlike cryptocurrencies or digital stocks, a coin can be touched, admired, passed on. It carries weight, literally and symbolically, and that weight is what collectors crave, the feeling that they are guardians of something eternal. So here's the question that lingers long after the video ends. How many fortunes are still hiding in plain sight? Somewhere in a jar on a kitchen shelf, in a dusty desk drawer, or tucked into an heirloom album. There may be another 1954 D wheat cent waiting to rewrite its owner's story. The difference between a 1-cent trinket and $1 million treasure might be nothing more than a careful glance under the right light. That's the beauty and the mystery of numismatics. Every coin has two sides, the obvious one and the one that changes your life. If you ever find yourself holding a 1954 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with the Denver Mint mark, take a moment before you dismiss it. Study it. Feel the grooves beneath your thumb. Look closely at the mint mark, the lettering, the luster. History hides in subtleties, and sometimes those subtleties hold a fortune, because in the grand theater of American coinage, the stars aren't always made of silver or gold. Sometimes they're made of humble copper, stamped with the face of a president, and the invisible hand of fate. So, to the collectors who spend late nights under magnifying lamps, to the dreamers rifling through rolls of coins from the bank, to the investors who see art where others see change, remember this. The next great discovery isn't lost. It's simply waiting for the right set of eyes. And perhaps those eyes are yours. It starts with a whisper, an ordinary sound that once echoed across countless pockets, drawers, and cash registers. A small copper disc, no larger than your thumbnail, stamped with the humble face of Abraham Lincoln. The year, 1957. The place, Denver, Colorado. Most would call it nothing more than a penny. But for a select few who understand the secret language of numismatics, the 1957 D Lincoln Wheat 1 cent from the Denver Mint is far more than a coin. It's a portal into American history, a symbol of craftsmanship, and, under the right conditions, a ticket into the upper echelons of wealth. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that cost the U.S. government less than half a cent to produce, yet could now be worth nearly $1 million. How does such a transformation happen? How does something so common become so priceless? It begins with error, the kind that slips past machines and men unnoticed for decades. The Denver Mint of 1957 was a busy place. The nation was booming, industry was expanding, and the demand for small change was enormous. Millions upon millions of Lincoln wheat cents poured from the presses, each one bearing the small D mark just below Lincoln's shoulder. To the untrained eye, every coin looked the same. But in a few rare instances, tiny imperfections, barely visible under magnification, turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. Some planchets were struck twice. Some were struck off-center. And some received mint marks that were ever so slightly misaligned, repunched or doubled, errors invisible to most, but magnetic to collectors. One of these anomalies, a specific 1957 D Lincoln Wheat 1 cent with a rare double die and near-perfect luster, surfaced decades later and shattered expectations. When it crossed the auction block, it commanded a price close to $945,000, a figure that left even seasoned collectors stunned. Why such value? Because rarity isn't just about numbers. It's about survival, condition, and discovery. In 1957, more than 1 billion wheat cents rolled out of Denver, but time has no mercy. Most were spent, worn down, melted, or forgotten. Only a handful survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, each one a frozen moment from Eisenhower's America. The coin that fetched nearly $1 million wasn't just well-preserved, it was flawless. Graded at the highest possible mint state, its fields gleamed like a mirror, its copper-red tone unmarred by oxidation or fingerprints. The faintest doubling of its date and mint mark caught the light like a hidden signature, proof of its uniqueness. And that's where the magic lies. In a world drowning in sameness, a single imperfection can create immortality. For collectors, the hunt for such a piece isn't merely about profit, it's about connection. Each coin is a messenger from another era, carrying the fingerprints of history. When a collector uncovers a coin like the 1957 D wheat cent in immaculate condition, they're not just finding metal. They're touching a piece of American resilience, born in a post-war economy, during a time when belief in progress was minted into every coin. But there's another reason this particular year captivates. Investors. The late wheat cent. Years, 1956 to 1958, marked the end of an era. The beloved wheat ears design on the reverse was soon to be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. Collectors knew change was coming, and with change comes nostalgia. Many hoarded the final wheat cents without realizing their future potential. They simply felt that something was ending, and they were right. By 1959, America had entered a new chapter. Rock and roll, space exploration, and consumer abundance. But the humble Lincoln cent from 1957 remained a relic of simpler ambition. Decades later, as copper was replaced by cheaper metals and the cost of production rose, these old wheat cents gained a new mystique. Today, when a collector encounters a 1957 D wheat cent with vibrant red luster and full mint strike, it's like discovering a perfectly preserved leaf in amber. Time stopped for that coin, and for whoever finds it, so might the world. Yet here's the twist. Most collectors will never notice the difference between a $20 coin and a $945,000 one, because value, in numismatics, hides in the microscopic details, the shape of a serif, the angle of a mint mark, the smoothness of a field. That's what separates the casual saver from the true investor. Consider this. The coin that sold for nearly $1 million wasn't discovered in a museum vault or a government archive. It was found in private hands, tucked away, passed down through a family who never realized its worth. For years, it sat in a small plastic flip, among other coins thought to be just old pennies. When finally examined by a specialist, it was authenticated and graded, revealing its extraordinary preservation and doubling. Within months, it became the headline of a numismatic auction, changing a family's fortune overnight. What makes stories like this so powerful is that they remind us of one truth. Wealth often hides in plain sight. But before you rush to your coin jars, consider this. Condition isn't everything. A 1957 D wheat cent with a weak strike, dark toning or heavy circulation wear may fetch only a few cents. The magic happens only when rarity, condition, and collector demand align perfectly. The modern numismatic market, however, is shifting. Investors are no longer just hobbyists, they're strategists. They see coins as tangible assets, insulated from inflation and immune to market volatility. In the last decade, high-grade Lincoln wheat cents, especially those from transitional years or with visible minting errors, have appreciated faster than gold, fine art, or real estate. Why? Because supply can never increase. The Denver Mint will never strike another 1957 D wheat cent. Every day another one corrodes, gets lost, or remains unrecognized in circulation. Scarcity tightens. Desire grows. Value follows. And yet, beyond charts and prices, something deeper drives collectors. Legacy. Many who buy rare coins don't do so to spend the profits. They do it to preserve a story. A man might leave behind a portfolio of stocks that vanish in a crash. But a coin? A coin can outlive empires. It's no coincidence that many of America's wealthiest families, Carnegie, DuPont, Walton, have quietly held numismatic collections. Not for display, but for continuity. A coin from 1957 can tell your grandchildren more about your values than a trust fund ever could, because each coin carries 3 legacies: the nation's, the mint's, and yours. So what does this mean for the modern collector eyeing the 1957 D Lincoln Wheat 1 cent? It means don't chase hype, chase history. Look for the details that others overlook. The alignment of the D mint mark, the sharpness of the wheat stalks, the color that tells you whether the coin lived its life in a vault or in someone's pocket. Learn to see what the average eye cannot. Every coin has secrets, but only patience can unlock them. And here's a little-known truth few will tell you. Sometimes the greatest finds happen not at auctions, but in estate sales, small-town coin shops, or even family inheritances. The 1957 D is a coin with a vast population, but the elite few, the top 1 in a million, are what collectors dream of. And those dreams are still out there, waiting to be discovered. Because while the Denver Mint struck over 1 billion wheat cents that year, fewer than a dozen have been confirmed to possess the exact doubling and immaculate condition that pushed them into the 6-figure range. That's a smaller population than most famous paintings, rarer than a flawless diamond, and arguably far more symbolic of the American story. Ask yourself this: what does it mean that a coin once worth 1 cent can now command nearly $1 million? It means that value is not assigned. It's revealed. It takes time, knowledge, and curiosity to unearth it. And that's what separates a casual observer from a true numismatist. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat 1 cent isn't just a coin, it's a mirror. It reflects how America treasures the overlooked, how history rewards preservation, and how those who look deeper always find more. Perhaps, somewhere right now, another one sits unrecognized in a forgotten box, waiting for the right eyes to notice. And maybe those eyes belong to you, so before you dismiss that small copper piece sitting in your collection, take another look. Tilt it toward the light. Examine its surface carefully. The faint doubling of a digit, the sharp edge of a mint mark, the untouched brilliance of copper red. All these could whisper a secret few ever hear. This coin was never ordinary. And in that moment, you realize the truth at the heart of collecting. It's not about owning metal. It's about discovering stories. Stories that outlast paper money, outshine jewelry, and outlive generations. Because in the world of coins, the smallest things often hold the greatest fortunes. So hold it close, examine it again, and remember, every legend begins with someone who dared to look closer. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat. 1 cent from the Denver Mint may just be that legend for you. And one day, when its true worth is revealed, it won't just change your collection. It might just change your legacy.